When Harry met Meghan and they got married, I can't overstate the excitement. Here was someone who was like me, who was an American and who had, my background and who was half Black. At the end of, the Harry and Meghan series, does love win, as they say? Does love conquer all? I believe it does. Now, at the beginning, race aren't a part of the books. They have to be, because my characters, my heroines are Black women. I'm a Black woman, and I live in society today. And there are things in how we view the world and how we move through the world and how the world responds and reacts to us that are everyday part of our experience. And so they're going to be everyday part of my heroine's experiences. So, like a lot of Americans, I watch the royal family, but from a distance, because it's not sort of part of our culture and part of our everyday. I would definitely have to say it's the love stories, right? So it's watching Princess Diana, or watching Diana marry Prince Charles and becoming a princess. Like a lot of little kids, I was a big reader, and part of the books that I read were fairy tales, were the Disney stories. And so for me, it was seeing that play out in real life. And I was fascinated by it. Harry met Meghan and they got married. I can't overstate the excitement and joy and investment in that I had, because here was someone who was like me, who was an American and who had, my background and who was half Black. And this woman was being welcomed and invited into that fairy tale. Sort of, like I that is sort of the easy comparison, and I get it. And to be fair, if Meghan and Harry hadn't gotten married, I don't think this book would have happened. Several years ago, pitched the idea of writing a sort of royal romance because I write interracial romance. It would have been between a white prince and a Black woman, and I was told at the time that people weren't interested in that story. Dani sort of is her own character. So the story isn't in any way a sort of veiled fictionalization of Harry and Meghan's romance. It starts off from the beginning. They're their own two people. But I think it's a really important comparison because if they hadn't happened, I think people wouldn't have believed or been able to sort of buy into the story that I told in the book. Absolutely. It's incredibly revolutionary. And I think what we have learned over the past few years is that it might still be too revolutionary. People who are used to seeing themselves represented in different arenas, especially arenas of power or privilege, they sort of downplay the importance of representation. Seeing someone who looks like Meghan in that rarefied air, in that sphere, as a family who sort of represents the UK, who want to represent British values, seeing someone who looks like her be invited and welcomed into that means a lot to a lot of people around the world. It's a very important part of my book. So I I understand that the type of books and stories and characters I write is very niche, right? Like I write interracial romance between white heroes and black heroines. I started dating my husband and I wanted to see our story in this genre that I loved. It was very hard to find. It's not that there were not interracial love stories, but usually if they were, and rarely if it was between a white man and a black woman, the sole plot of the romance was about race. And the reason that the thing they had to overcome, or the reason they couldn't be together, had to do with race. I just wanted to see someone that looks like me and someone that looks like him play out in, in a romance, and have us have a meet cute and have, the issues that normally come into play between the two main characters come into play, and then love overcome all. And I wanted all of that to play out without the burden of race. Having said that, it doesn't mean that race aren't a part of the books. They have to be, because my characters, my heroines are black women. I'm a black woman and I live in society today. And there are things in how we view the world and how we move through the world and how the world responds and reacts to us that are everyday part of our experience. And so they're going to be everyday part of my heroine's experiences.
Wow.